free. eBay Classifieds implemented. It's just really a great way to register new users, and I encourage you guys to check it out and make it a quick way to get new users in. When you see all your data pre-filled, and you just push one button and you're in. It's pretty awesome. In a similar vein, this idea of getting users in faster and getting into a social experience faster, we also introduced in November, our mobile team introduced single sign-on. And this speaks to that exact problem where we saw typing in your username and password on a mobile phone is difficult, and we want to make sure people are getting into an experience as fast as possible with Facebook. And also the good news is this is really easy to implement. Just to sort of take you through here, this is kind of crude, but we'll step through it. On your mobile device, Android or iOS, you have an application that has Facebook implemented. That's great. And you have also a pretty good chance that the Facebook application is installed on that device. It's one of the most popular apps for iOS and Android, and most of the time users are already logged into the app when they have the Facebook app. I'm not sure if anybody in this room has a Facebook app on their phone and they're not automatically logged into it. So when you push Facebook, you're not immediately be able to take advantage of the product. So the idea is, it's ridiculous to have to push a login button on every app that I download and have to enter my username and password again. So what we're doing now is when you push the login button, we're going to redirect to the Facebook app. On Android, we're using Intense. On iOS, we're using multitasking. And I'll do a quick demo of this so you can see it. And within the Facebook app, we try to make it as elegant as possible from a UI perspective. You're already signed in. No need to put in a username and password. Prompt the permissions dialog box with whatever permissions your app needs. Then we go ahead and once the user pushes allow, we just pass that OAuth access token back to your app, and your app can then log the user in and start taking advantage of the data that in the actual, for example, the quiz app. Literally 2 pushes, and I'm already beginning to guess what my friends' ages are, do a jigsaw puzzle of my friends' pictures. So it's just much simpler process. Also, if you think about it, because although this is not a registration plugin here, the idea of one of my least favorite things to do is download a new app, and the first thing I have to do is create a new account. I have to create a username, I have to create a password, I have to type in all this data on my phone, which is I've already typed in thousands of times before for every new app I've downloaded that needs me to create an account. Now I can literally just push a Facebook login button, push one button, say, yep, I want this application to have my email address, I want this application to have my basic data, hit one button, I'm in the experience, I have a full user account within your application, and all is well in the world. So some technical details on this. Like I said, with iPhone we're using multitasking, and we're using URL handlers to actually flip between the apps. And so what our API is doing is actually, you need to create calling your apps based on your Facebook app IDs. You're creating a URL handler within Xcode when you're creating your iPhone application. That's step 1. And then slow transitions. Basically, these are the remaining 2 steps that you have to do. So bind a custom URL, you just did that. You actually add just a few lines of code to your application within your development environment, and that's it. And then when a few users logged in, you just have to handle that when you get the return response. So very simple. And the good news too is that if you don't have the Facebook application installed, it just defaults to the previous behavior. So a few lines of code, a few little changes, and you're in single sign-on. For Android, also very simple. You have to give us your register your public key with Facebook, and add a few lines of code to your code base to handle the single sign-on flow. And again, it doesn't break the old method. It just takes advantage of single sign-on if you have the latest Facebook app installed that can handle those responses. So if any mobile developers in the room, if you can take one thing from the presentation today, it's implement single sign-on. It's going to be a great boon for users, and I love it when I see it implemented. So definitely will encourage you guys to go for that. From a documentation perspective, your best place to do this is go directly to GitHub for the iOS SDK and the Android SDK. The reason is because there's a sample after that, which I'm actually going to show you now so you can see what this whole process looks like. So I have Simulator, the Facebook app running, I'm logged in for hopefully nothing embarrassing popping up. And then I go to, this is the demo app that we have up on GitHub for the iOS SDK. Right now I'm not logged in. I don't haven't authorized this application. I push login. We use multitasking to switch into the Facebook app. No username, password. A few pieces of data that I want to grab. Hit allow. And I'm now clicked back in, logged in. I can make a call to the Graph API. This call will be graph.facebook.com/me. Pull out the name of JSON and